What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I'm Corey Ensko, joined by David Gessler. David, how you doing, bud?
Good, man. It's been a little while since we've done this, and I had to, brush off the cobwebs on the microphone here for a second.
It has, yeah. Happy New Year, I guess, even though it's basically February. But the first, the first show of the new year, so that's exciting. No Matt Swift this week. He was not able to join us, but he'll be back next week. So we're excited to have him back on the show. But we got a lot to talk about. We were kind of holding off doing the next episode because we were waiting to see all the news, and then all the news happened. So we got a list of things to work through today. So it's good times.
Yeah, nice checklist to just rapid fire go through. Yeah, you're right. Last time we did the show, we were like, I wonder what the DP window is going to be like, and then all of a sudden, we don't do anything for 2 or 3 weeks, and we have all the news.
Yeah,
it's fine.
All the news. I will say, where in the Carolinas do we find you today, David? Because that beautiful floral print in the background is not your usual scarf rack that I see in the background. So where are we finding you?
It is not. So I am in reporting live in Charleston, South Carolina. So I am. Hey. So I am actually, I guess, technically Mount Pleasant. So I'm down here for work for the week, and there was so much news that I was like, you know what, I'm going to pack my microphone, my laptop, and that way we can knock the show out live in Mount Pleasant. So
that's the level of appreciation we have here at Mint City Soccer Show.
Yes, of course.
The amount of dedication we have there. So I appreciate also that you said that you were not actually in Charleston, that you're in Mount Pleasant, because that's a different. It's a different situation.
I am directly across from where Charlotte FC had their very first preseason game ever. It's a glorious little area. It's a beautiful area. So
historic landmark. Awesome. All right. Well, we're gonna get to more preseason stuff in a little bit. We got that on the list of things we're gonna talk about. We've had a couple of preseason matches. But first, I say we just dive in, and we got a lot of listener questions, as always. So thank y'all for sending those in. We're gonna kind of do it a little bit differently. We're just gonna sprinkle those throughout as they touch on something that we wanted to talk about anyway. Yep. So let's dive into. We're gonna start off with some of the player moves that have happened over the past few weeks.
Wait, Corey.
Yeah.
There's been player news before the season starts.
Yeah,
is Charlotte FC allowed to do that? Are we allowed?
Apparently, I wasn't sure before this happened, but we do have some people, so that's exciting. So let's just jump in here. I'm going to actually start out of order. No, I'll start with the order I had it on the spreadsheet. I won't throw you off that much. BL, we have BL coming back. Pet BL coming back on loan again. I believe it's a full season loan this time. I should have this right in front of me, but I don't have it right in front of me.
I don't believe it is actually.
Is it still the half season loan?
It is. So it's almost to the summer window.
Okay.
So it gives Charlotte FC some flexibility to, at least I believe so. But yeah, I believe it's going to the summer window that gives them flexibility that if they want, I guess, sign him long term, extend the loan. It's kind of a smart play, and I don't want to steal your thunder here, but Charlotte FC also was able to bring him back on a non-DP deal, which is huge. And I think it really sets the tone of this window. I know we're going to talk about a few players here, but I think this has probably been one of the biggest impact and biggest windows that we've ever had for Charlotte FC during an offseason. Yeah. I know it's only been 4 of these total, but I think it's one of the best ones we've done.
Yeah, absolutely huge. And I'm doing things in order of, level of excitement. So we're going to get to them more, but I'll say, obviously there's the huge signing we're going to talk about in a minute. But I was really excited about BL coming back because I know that, maybe he didn't produce quite as much as some folks would have hoped in his stint with us at the end of last season. But I thought there was enough promise there that I definitely wanted to see more of him, especially if we could get him back on a non-DP deal. And so getting him here on not taking up a DP spot, I think is massive. Because I do think the team down the stretch played better when he was in the game. And so I wanted to see him have a chance to do more. You are right. I did confirm it's just a partial season. So he's here till August unless they extend it further. So again, kind of a short chunk of the season to give him a little more test run, but I think it was the right move. Give him the preseason to work with the team, get him a little more comfortable coming in from the beginning of the season. And I think we're going to see some exciting things from him. So I think that was a good way to start the transfer window, is to get him back. And I'm excited to see what he does with a little more time with the team.
Well, and not to spoil some of these future player moves that we're going to talk about, but I think it's also going to be, you can read the tea leaves a little bit here that they're not expecting him to be playing on the wing like he did when he was with us last time, right?
Yeah.
It's with the moves we made, which we'll talk about here in just a second. I think it's pretty clear that Dean and the team expect him to be that attacking mid and creative player for us moving forward. So I'm pumped to see what this happens. And like you said, I think it started coming into form. Not to pump another podcast, but I've been listening to the Soccer Wise guys a lot with Tom Bogert, and they have a little Discord community in there, and you'll be very surprised how many MLS fans out there that are not Charlotte centric have been following what Pep Biel is going to be able to do. And the fact that we got him on a non-DP deal, a lot of fans out there are like, oh, that raised some eyebrows. And then these next moves raised even more eyebrows. So
yeah, absolutely. So again, we're going to kind of ramp up the level of excitement. So the next deal we're going to talk about is the trade. I guess you'd call it, when we do that, the exchange of fake money that we made for midfielder Eric Williamson from Portland Timbers. We got him for $100,000 in Gam Wham, thank you, ma'am, whatever these things are called. He was one that maybe, and I think there's a question around this. One of our listener questions. Let me make sure it's in here. From Gus, says, "Is Eric Williamson the stealth signing we're not paying attention to?" And I do think it's interesting. I think he is a little overlooked because of the other moves we're going to talk about.
Yep.
And the one we already talked about. I think Biel, the Biel and Williamson news came out pretty close together, if I remember correctly. So I feel like this move was a little overlooked, but I know that there's a lot of people excited about him coming in, especially big friend of the show, Von Pullman. I feel like he's excited about it. I feel like the little group text we have with some other people who are friends of the show, we're pretty pumped about this move. So yeah, what do you think about Williamson and him coming into that midfield?
It's funny because I know we were talking offline. This is like early in the off season. Like what's the midfielder going to look like? And you had Urso leave, and it was kind of Pep Biel leave, and it was kind of like, okay, well, what are they going to retool and redo this entire spine in midfield? And now we have Pep Biel back, going to be now an attacking midfielder, I'm assuming, right? And now with Eric Williamson, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched a bunch of Portland Timber games, but talking to Vaughn, talking to a few other folks out there, I've gotten pretty excited about him, looking him up, right? He did have some injuries in his career that kind of derailed a little bit, but early in his career, he was kind of a exciting midfielder there in Portland from what I've heard. He was able to create a little bit. He's not like an attacking midfielder or anything like that, but he would be kind of that double pivot or number 8 kind of player here for us, right? Coming into this. And now just think about the way that we had our midfield beginning of the season, right? You had Junior Urso, Brant Bronico, Ashley Westwood as starters early on. You kind of had that towards the end of the season as well. And now you've got Pep Biel, you've got Eric Williamson, you got Ashley Westwood, Brant Bronico, Diani, Ben Bender. I mean, there's like, think about like just wild. I know we were reflecting on this like a few weeks ago. 3 years ago, we're like, Ben Bender's starting, and future, people were like, future, U.S. men's national team potential player, this stuff like this. And here we are, and we're like, hey, now he's like 5th, 6th on the depth chart in some of these situations, right? And so I do think Eric can have a pretty big impact for us. One thing that kind of stood out to me is he is on a 1-year deal. So this is kind of I don't want to say prove it kind of year for him. So I think that gives him some extra motivation to come in and have a good, productive season, because if he wants to stay in MLS, he wants to stay on Charlotte, he's going to want to have a good year, right?
Yeah.
The other flip side of it, though, is that because it is a trade, we do take on his roster designation. and he is not a cheap player. Like while we were able to trade for him for, I want to say like what, 100,000 Garber bucks, like made up money, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like he, before some of these signings that we made, he is was our 5th or 6th highest paid player in our roster. If compared to the, last day roster that we had last year. So like only people that are getting paid more than him were some of our DPs, and then like Ashley Westwood and some other folks. Right. So if you're Charlotte, you don't make a signing like that or a trade like that and take on that roster designation and the roster spend if you don't expect a guy to be able to come in and contribute. So
absolutely.
I think the team kind of expects him. If you look at some of these preseason games, seems like he's getting some pretty significant minutes. Just I don't know if it's just to get familiarity, minutes, evaluate what he is. I think it's great. I think you continue to upgrade the roster. I'm always gonna support Brant Bronico, and no matter every year people count him out.
Bronico.
Yeah,
never
every year
him.
People count him out, and yet he gets significant minutes every year. And so but now this is a midfield that is highly upgraded since last year, and I think has potential to be a very good midfield going into this year.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, he's an accomplished player. I mean, it definitely is a prove-it year for him in a lot of ways to earn a spot. But, he's just kind of going over some of the stats. Not a goal scorer, big creator, like you said, 6 goals, 20 assists, and 100 matches for Portland. But, has, experience at the national level, too. He played on the men's national team that won the 2021 Gold Cup. So, a lot of really good experience, a lot of high-level experience there. So good veteran experience to bring in. And I think, he does, in my mind, looking at it on paper, I think he upgrades the midfield in that spot. And I think it gives us some depth there too, to kind of shuffle some players around with a pretty busy schedule, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. He's
kind of he's the junior Ursa replacement, with Ursa not being back this season. And depending on the matchup and the players, you could have Bronico come in, you can have Diani come in, you can have him come in. It gives you so much more flexibility and ability now. And then I know we're going to talk about later in the show, but with all these mid-season Leagues Cup, Open Cup, monstrosities we have, you need depth to be able to go through this whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's actually talk a little bit. We're really holding off the big news, which everybody knows the big news. It's not like we're breaking news here, but we're just going to wait to talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the players who left. You mentioned Urso, but a couple of the other big departures we've had from this offseason is Jari Urunen, who I feel like I'm mumbling every time I say his name, because I definitely am. It has left the team, and then also the big one being Karol Swiderski, being permanently sold to Panathinaikos. Ooh, I was going to try it.
That was a good attempt.
There
you go. I think it sounds good.
Panathinaikos.
Sounds right.
I'm going to text my Greek friend and be like, what is this? But yeah, a team in Greece. He's going there. I think if the numbers I'm seeing, if I remember correctly, at a bit of a loss from what we purchased him for. But I don't think this is a real surprise on anybody. But what do you think about Karol officially permanently leaving the club?
Yeah, I mean, it isn't that 10 million that Zoran came on and said 2 years ago, right? So
sure.
But I'll say this. I mean, I don't think it's a bad deal. I think a lot of teams, especially European teams, probably knew we wanted to offload Karol. Mm-hmm. We attempted to do it last year. We had him on a loan to Verona, and didn't work out for us there, right? And had him come in. He contributed. I will say, I won't say anything bad about Karol. He came in. He's our all-time leading goal scorer. Produces goals per minute at a high clip rate for us compared to everybody else we've had, right? Mm-hmm. But it was Karol that high end top tier DP goal scorer for the league? No, that's not what he was. He wasn't also going to be the type of number 9 that Pat is, where he's grinding and splitting center backs and making hard runs and being physical. That's not his type of player. He's also not going to be a super creative cam for a lot of teams. Yeah. So he's kind of that tweener, and it's nothing wrong with that. I think he enjoyed his time here in Charlotte, from what I could tell. He definitely came back, I think, and I appreciate him not being a disruption in the locker room after that loan ended and came in and helped us in our playoff run. So, I feel pretty good with it. He was on his last year of his contract. I think we sold him for like $2.5 or $2 million, something like that. So not bad for a player that you get 1 year left on a deal. And I think we bought him for something like 5 or 6 or 4.5 million. So, I mean, 3 years into it and you sell it from 2, I don't think it's a terrible return from that perspective. And it frees up a DP spot. So again, now you have Pep, who is not on a DP. You have Abada, who is a DP now, and you sold Carroll. So now, well, we haven't talked about him yet, but we have at this time 2 open DP roles. But let's talk about the guy that's going to be coming in here to get that DP role, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, real quick, I'll say on the one thing before we move on to that is, I really appreciated how Swiderski handled coming back at the end of last season.
Agreed.
You touched on this. Like, he came in, he wasn't always the natural starter. Like, he got put on the bench a few matches. It wasn't like he was just given immediately a starting role when he came back. But I definitely noticed an attitude shift in the way he handled, and we talked about this a lot on the show at the end of last season. He seemed to be enjoying being with the team, enjoying being in Charlotte, contributing wherever he could. But I think it was pretty clear by the end of it, even though he did, he scored some goals. He's like you said, he's the club's all-time leader in goals and assists. Like he had a big impact on the club, but it just seemed clear that like it wasn't the right fit going forward. And so finding a place, to sell him and let him, move forward in his career and us be able to make some moves on our end were huge. And I really think what made it a little bit easier, and was something else we're going to talk about, is seeing the way Patrick Agyemang has come along. I think it made it a little bit easier to say, like, it's okay to move on from Swiderski because we feel pretty good at what we have in-house. But you're right. It opened up BL coming back on a non-DP deal, and then Swiderski moving on opened up 2 DP spots, and we used one of them on WILFRIED ZAHA.
Who? I'm just joking.
Breaking news. You had no idea what we were going to get talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. He comes over on loan for the full season from Galatasaray, but probably best known for his time in the Premier League, Crystal Palace, and then also for a little bit of Manchester United, Cardiff City. But just, he's a name. I mean, he is a name that people will know. And I think that's probably, I would argue that's the first time that we've really done that as a club. There's of course the Christian Fuchs. I mean, maybe Ashley Westwood, but not really to the level of this. Like, this is the big world-class kind of level talent that we brought into this club. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Zaha coming in? Reactions, feelings?
Yeah, I mean, I know Swift was behind the scenes pumping us up and pumping up this name, right? So I think, like you said, it is a very big name player. It is a player that contributed at the highest level in the Premier League, and not just like 1 or 2 years, but like for a long time. And I know, like, I don't know what happened to him after he left Crystal Palace. I know he went to Turkey and went to loan to Lyon and a couple of different places here and there. But like, from what I've read online and from what I've heard in other people, and again, just looking at situations, it doesn't sound like he was in the best situation when he left Crystal Palace, right? I think there was a reporter that came out that he went to a team to, try to play champions, and, it just they didn't really have a roster build for him, and came into a situation that wasn't beneficial for him, right? And then got put on loan again, trying to get, into a better situation, and just wasn't set up for success. Like, I mean, and it's not unheard of to have star players or players go to situations that aren't good and just not work out, right? So I feel very confident here. He seems excited to be here. The league is, I think, this isn't like a Messi type signing for the league, but signing a player like Zaha, I can't tell you how many different, like, Reddit, Twitter, Blue Sky, Discord servers, the amount of soccer fans who are envious of Charlotte for signing Zaha is crazy. Like, there's people that were like, oh, I'm a Crystal Palace fan, and now Charlotte's my second team now, because, like, I just, just watching him play is just like, we loved watching him do this, right? So I think it brings an edge. I think it brings an attack that we've never had at the wing, and since we've been here in the league. And now, can you just imagine? Like, think about our attack now. We have Patrick Agyemang on the top, Leo Labada, WILFRIED ZAHA, Pep Biel as our top 4 like creative attacking players. Like, I remember I texted you the other day, and I was like, compare that to day 1 like roster. We had TT Ortiz, Mackenzie Gaines, like Daniel Rios coming off as a sub in DC. Like now we have WILFRIED ZAHA as a starter for us. Like that's super exciting. I mean, I cannot wait to see him get creative and create chances going down the sideline with Patrick and Pep and Abada. Like I don't know. I'm ready. You know what I'm also ready for? I'm ready for the new version of, what is it? EAFC 26 or whatever it is, 25, whatever version we're on now, and be able to have WILFRIED ZAHA on our roster and have that attacking group on there. I'm just gonna have fun, man. It's gonna be a fun little roster build on there. I can imagine what Dean Smith thinks.
Yeah, no, you've hit it all. I was gonna say, because you threw out TT Ortiz, I was gonna say, do we finally have someone who's deserving of the number 10 jersey at Charlotte FC? Because that hasn't happened yet. Finally, like we'll see how he hadn't played a regular season real match that matters yet. But it feels like, this makes sense that he's taking the 10 versus anybody else who's won the 10 so far.
Yeah.
Which is a good feeling.
It is. Well, I mean, and yes, I know like me and Swift were texting back and forth, and I know there was a lot of chitter chatter online and other rumors about Miguel Almiron, right? Like having like rumors to that, but like, does that work out? No, it doesn't in this situation, but like we got WILFRIED ZAHA, man. Like that's like, I don't know. Like that seems like a bigger name in Europe than it would be Almiron coming back over here. And I think it could be, no offense to Miguel, right?
Like, I'll take him too. Like if he wants to come, like I'm not mad about it, but yeah, sure.
But like how awesome is that we have a player that, like Europe, I mean, Europe is going to be like, oh, that's Top Ben put a tweet or an Instagram reel or something like that out the other day. And there's players practicing in England, and they're talking about Zaha signing with Charlotte FC, and they go, oh yeah, that's where Tim Ream went and Ashley Westwood. And they're just juggling balls, and they're like, Charlotte FC is making a splash, so much so that players who are actively in the Premier League are like, oh, that's where Tim Ream, that's where Ashley Westwood, that's where Zaha went. And like now that name's getting out there, they're like, oh, like that, I think that's going to be, let me backtrack this for a second. And not only will Zaha hopefully be a huge impact for the roster build and like actually score goals and win games, it now makes an impact for future players that want to come to Charlotte, because they can go, oh, that's where Zaha played at. That's where Ashley Westwood played at. That's where Tim Ream played at. I want to go there because it helped them out from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you're going exactly where I was going to talk about too. Is the on the field stuff is incredibly important for what this team needs. We can talk about that, but like you can't overlook the, for lack of a better term, branding aspect of it.
Correct.
Both from a fan perspective and a recruitment and player perspective as well too. And like you said, we've talked about it on the show before. I think with Ashley Westwood being that guy, like him being able to be that ambassador for Charlotte on the global stage, especially in England, but just being, the kind of person that can say, hey, like this is Charlotte. This is why it's great. This is why you should really consider here. But to keep adding players like that, Tim Ream's another one, but like Zaha's by far the biggest one that can be really representative. Like, if he went there, he must see something in that place that makes sense and is the right thing for his career. And I also think from a fan perspective, like I always gauge things on, do people that I talk to who aren't soccer fans bring it up and want to talk about it? And like, they do want to talk about this. Like, even if they're not big soccer fans, they know that name. And so the excitement level is really high about someone like that. And I think it just does a lot to raise the visibility of the club and the perception of the club among people, that, they're bringing in these big players, these big names. They're going for it. But from, like you said, from the on the field perspective, last year, we built such a solid defense and midfield, and that was our calling card. We didn't score many goals early in the season, but boy, were we solid and could get a lot of draws and sneak a few wins in there that way. And what have we upgraded is the attack. I mean, that attack is now something completely different. And so that's really exciting to see. Yeah, I think you texted, like, do you remember who we had starting in the first season? I don't even know how we came so close to playoffs, but it's just impressive to see, like, there's been some issues. Obviously the coaching rotation was tough early on, but like, you've seen the way this club is just steadily built and like put in the right pieces, got rid of the pieces that didn't make sense. Did they get every player signing right? Absolutely not. There were a lot of mistakes, but they kept building upon what worked, keeping the players in that made sense, getting rid of the ones that don't, and then bringing in more talent. And I see this team, and again, we'll see what happens with their action on the field, but like the way this team is built right now, and there's still some gaps we can talk about, but
sure,
very excited about where it's going, and excited to have a player of that caliber coming here to play in Charlotte. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch Charlotte FC.
He's hungry too. Like he wants to come here. He even said like, what about MVP? Like I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
We have a player that wants to win MVP and Golden Boot, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like his former teammate in DC is even like, it's like, dude, like he's like, yeah, it's great here. Welcome to MLS. And so I don't know. I can't say enough positive things for this. I know Matt Swift. Hopefully we did him justice here to hype this up for him, because I know he was super excited for it. And if I have to do him a little bit of justice here, he's like, trust the process, trust the team's working on doing this stuff. So be good.
Yeah, no, excited for him. So let's jump over to a question. I'll just kind of read this question. We've kind of answered this. Richard asks, what do you think about signing BL and Zaha? Will we be okay? I think we're okay. The only, and I would like your thoughts if you have anything additional too. And we're going to talk about this. There's some listener questions about this as well. But with still some questions, I think defensively, even though that was the strength last year, and nothing. I mean, Ernan leaves, so like we did lose someone, but like he wasn't starting by the end of the season. But I do still think there's some question marks back there. That we need to kind of talk about, but from just overall talent standpoint, like I think the team has gotten better, and so I feel good about where we're at.
I mean, and not to go down a huge rabbit hole, but technically speaking, if you look at our back four on defense when we made the run into the playoffs, we have the same back fours now. So in theory, like on paper, it should be just as good, if not better. We have some depth questions and concerns, but it's the same four right now. So.
Let's jump to one other question real quick before we talk about our next bullet point on our list here. Jamie asks, will Pep be playing in the middle? Sorry, I'm trying to read this question. Will Pep be playing in the middle or splitting time with Liel Abada on the right side? We touched on this a little bit, but your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I don't want to act like I'm Dean Smith here and know what the hell I'm talking about, but I think what you saw a few times last year with BL was that even though he was on a wing, it gave him the flexibility to switch sides and also pinch inward. And now you have Abada, the Pep, and Zaha, who I think all three would be willing and able to rotate and pinch in and swap and do what they need to do, right? So I think here, on paper the plan is obviously going to be Pep in the attacking mid, have Abada on the wing and Zaha on the wing from that situation, because I think that's what on paper is going to work best. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dean gives them the ability to kind of read the game and pinch inward and rotate and, make some, sweeping runs, whatever they need to do, right? Those three up top with Pat, I think is going to create a lot of havoc for some teams.
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of creativity up there. And I also think you can see the lineup being dictated by the opponent, and
Agreed.
This is where I am not nearly we've talked about our tactical genius on this podcast before. That doesn't exist. But like, I think that's something you'll see Dean Smith do, is say like, all right, based on kind of who we're playing, how do we want to play this a little bit? But
Sure.
I think in general, if I had to guess it right now, you're right. It's Abada outright, Agyemang up top, Zaha, and then BL in that attacking mid role.
There's even times last year where I thought, I can't remember what games it was, but he even played Abada inside. And then at the end of the season, like BL was playing on the outside. So I think
Yeah.
All these players give us flexibility, and I love
Yeah.
that because it depends on who we're playing. Hell, I'm not saying we're going to do this, but like you could put Bronico up at attacking mid and have Pep go on the right
We've
wing.
done it.
I mean, you know what I mean? There, I'm speaking it into existence. So you know,
We've done
you
it.
could see that, and like it, you know, like if there's subs that come on and you're trying to grind guys out, like there's we have the ability to do that now. Versus, I hope this guy stays in because the depth behind it's not where it needs to be.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. All right. Let's see. Let's jump to. I'll ask one more question from Chantry before we jump to the next bullet point, which we touched on a little bit. Chantry asks, Matt Chantry, what moves, if any, would you make to complete a perfect offseason? Getting greedy. We were talking about how we had like a come on, Matt. Like we had like a really good offseason where we made moves that didn't wait until the last possible second and felt pretty good about our window. And you're like, well, what else could we do to make it really good? I see where you're going here. I see what's happening. Anything in mind? Like even not necessarily a player, but just like position or depth area, or where do you think you'd like to see maybe some signing happen?
Yeah, just bring Mbappe in. It'd be the perfect off. I'm just joking. I'm joking. So no, in all seriousness, I think if I'm going to be greedy here for a second, if there was anything else I would do, I would love to get some depth either at like left back or center back potentially. Right. Yeah. So like, and that doesn't mean that we go out and make a huge splash or a signing. And for all I know, like, JP and, Bill Tuiluma could be the perfect depth pieces for us there. So I don't know, but if I had a, have to answer Chancey's question there, I think that would be the only thing that would be like, oh, okay, that cool. Put a bow on it. I'm perfect this offseason if we could bring one more depth piece potentially in that back line.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it actually goes to, I believe this is his question based on where it was pasted in the Google Doc. But does the lack of established depth at right back and left back worry you? Like, yeah, that's the only thing. I teased it a little bit when we were talking earlier. Like, that's the only thing on the roster that has me a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Yes, all the starting pieces from the end of the year are there, but like, there's not a whole lot behind it.
Yeah, I mean, like,
having someone at left back, having someone at right back, to just add some depth and experience there would make me feel a lot better. But otherwise, I feel pretty good about where things are.
Yeah, I mean, just in case people weren't aware during the offseason, I know we had an episode about a month or so come out, but Jalen Lindsey's contract expired. He's not here with us anymore. So that was your right back kind of like early on rotation kind of starter, but then became kind of just the backup there. And then now you have Yuri, who is out. So now you have Tim Ream on the left back. You have Yal Pedro as a left back, center back kind of depth. Bill Tuiluma is now as a center back. I guess you have Tim Ream that could potentially pinch in if need be. Melanda's Melanda. And then now you have Nathan Byrne. And then I think that backup right back position's kind of up for grabs. I know Nick Scardina was, at camp and has had minutes there previously. And there's some depth and younger players there. So maybe someone steps up. We'll see. But I think that's the only kind of question mark I have right now.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into. We've talked about him a lot, but one of our bullet points is we wanted to talk about Big Pat and the offseason that he has had. I guess I'll say, like, by the end of the season, I wasn't like fully sold, but I mean, I've always liked him as a player, and felt good about him being in that striker role. Like, I think in general, the team performed better when he was there, and he created more, and just his ability is just ridiculous to be as fast as he is, as big and strong as he is, to be able to make some of the moves he does, combining it with the size and strength and speed. I mean, there's a lot of raw talent there. But I still thought like, we still need to upgrade that striker position. Like, I still think he's not the long-term answer. We need to find somebody else. And I think, I don't know if I've just drank the Kool-Aid or not, but I've changed my opinion on that in the past few weeks, and a lot of it has to do with the way he played for the U.S. men's national team. So he got called up to the January camp, which is typically a spot where you see a little more, trial runs of some players who wouldn't normally get a spot with the team, given some younger guys or some unproven guys a chance to come up there and play a little bit. And Patrick made a mark. I mean, he started the first match, got a goal, came in as a sub. The second match, got a goal. Really impressive goals. And just the way people were talking about him, commentators and things like that, and the way he performed, I think it really opened my eyes, and I think a lot of people's eyes, to we have a pretty special talent right there. And we should enjoy it while we have it, because who knows how long we'll have it. But yeah, so based on all that, kind of what were your reactions to seeing the way he played, and kind of where you see his role with the team this year?
Man, if there's a way I could do like a cartoon meme right here, and so Corey, I guess post edit, you could put the Patrick, hey, is this the Krusty Krab? No, this is Patrick kind of meme right here. That would be, chef's kiss.
Is this the Krusty Krab? No, this is Patrick.
But no, I think he solidified himself here and made a name for himself this camp. And I want to correct me if I'm wrong on this stat. People can tweet at me or blue sky me or whatever you want to do. But there's only been, I think, 15 or 20 players that have scored 2 goals in their premieres in their first 2 games ever for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah.
And Patrick Agyemang is one of those guys now. And so that is, I think, impactful. I think that shows there's trust and ability there. And I'm just like you. I was kind of like, okay, like, is Pat a full 90-minute starter for us? And this January camp he had with the men's national team, we'll get to the preseason games we've had the past week or two. I think he's made his name for himself a little bit,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And been able to get that solidified starting spot for him. Now, would I still like some proven depth behind him potentially?
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. I mean, we've got some guys that are, Yuri Tavares is behind him. We've got some other guys that could play the 9 and sub in. But I feel like and I hate to say this because it's just like me being spoiled. It's not a Karol Swiderski coming in to sub in Pat and being able to be like a known goal scorer, right?
Right.
So that's the only thing that's in the back of my head a little bit.
Yeah.
But no concerns with Pat right now. I think he is getting better at his game. He's playing confident. He knows that he belongs, and I think like it's kind of like a point guard or a quarterback when they just know that they belong and they have that attitude and they're like, no, I've got this. It's kind of like it's almost like Cam back in like the Super Bowl era Panthers. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like it's like he's got that vibe of him right now and just being like, yeah, no, this is what I'm gonna do and this is how I'm gonna do it. And he's showing it. And I cannot wait. The soccer wise guys like Tom Bogert and them are raving about Patrick Agyemang.
Yeah.
Like MLS pundits and other fans are taking notice this past month. And kudos to Pat, kudos to scouting front office for getting this type of player. And then kudos for Pat's agent because he is, helped Pat make some money long-term with the way he's been playing here. So I'm excited to see what that contract looks like long-term for him as well.
He deserves it. No, I think you touched on it. The confidence, I think, is going to be massive, him coming in. Especially, and I can't imagine there's another conversation happening, but like, I assume if it's like, Patrick, this is your team. This is your spot. Like you own the spot. Because I feel like, last year it was kind of a question mark. Like, was he the starting striker? Was he not the starting striker? No, it was usually Capetti or it was Soderski or like who? Yeah, there was always this DP spot there, and he was kind of the one that would come in and save the day when he needed to. But I think it's now like you're the guy. Like you're the guy, and here's what you have around you.
Oh my
talent
God.
wise. Like that's also that is because I think the other issue we've had, and we've talked about this a million times on the podcast, is someone who can help create and get balls into the box in dangerous places for a striker to go get them. We haven't really had that very well. And we got better at it. You saw that come along with the end of last season, but now you're going to put Patrick, who's shown that he's dangerous and creative and a great goal scorer, can be in the right spots and make the right runs. And you're going to give him Zaha, Abada, and BL to help create in addition to other guys in the midfield. Like, let's go. I think we're putting him in the spot and we're giving him the right tools around him.
I'm getting pumped right now just thinking about it. So I'm so excited. For those watching on YouTube, I'm getting antsy sitting here in the hotel thinking about this. So, but think about this. Even last year, think about the difference of 365 days does for this roster, and how credit is due to Zoran in the front office for saying, okay, this doesn't work. We need to just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. This time last year, we had Enzo Capetti starting, Erdi Tavares starting. You had Curran Vargas starting, and Brek de Hajere starting. That was our attacking four at the beginning of the season last year. And Scotty Arfield would rotate every once in a while in there too. Right? And so now you've got WILFRIED Zaha, a bot. We have 2 DP, technically 3 if you think about it, with Pep being on a non-DP deal. We've got 3 DP surrounding Pat to start the season off with a full preseason and training and ready to go before game one. I'm ecstatic, man. I'm so pumped. So pumped.
We're also as you're saying these things, I'm realizing that we are very optimistic when we have these podcasts, because I feel like when we talked about those players last year, we were like, yeah, we feel pretty good about that. It's a pretty good attack, and now we're like, what were we thinking?
No offense to those players. I'm saying it's but that's the fun part about offseason. Everything's optimistic right now. Everything's gonna be positive.
But no, I do think we've made the upgrades in the places that we needed to make upgrades. And so I'm really excited about that. And again, I just love it for Patrick that he's had the success and that he's getting, I feel like, pretty with no questions asked. That's his spot, and I can't wait to see him take it with confidence. And because he's proven that he deserves it and he can play well, and we're giving him some really nice tools around him. So to kind of transition from that, we did want to talk a little bit about the preseason match that happened today. I know they had one earlier against Nashville, which I believe was a draw previously, but today we'll talk more about. They played Sporting Kansas City. And it was a 3-2 win for Charlotte, which, preseason results, they are what they are. It's fine. Yep. Brandon Cambridge had a penalty kick or penalty goal late in the match to be the game winner. But more importantly, I would say Patrick Agyemang had a brace. And so you can look at the Twitter accounts and see some of the highlights filmed vertically on a cell phone, and you can see Kansas City wearing some white t-shirts. It's funny. It's preseason. It's weird.
Yeah, a yellow penny.
The goalie has a yellow penny. It's a whole thing. It's a Sunday beer league.
I was gonna say it's the most Sunday beer league.
Except for we're wearing our actual kits. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, first goal was off a corner. Patrick gets the header in near the far post. Nice solid header. And then the second one is the one that gets me really excited, because this is what we've been talking about, is a nice little pass from Zaha to Patrick, kind of top of the box, dribbles toward the top of the box and scores a nice little goal there. So that connection, I think, is what we're all very excited about. And so seeing it already come and result in a goal, even if it's preseason, who the heck knows who Sporting Kansas City was playing? I don't even care. But just seeing that relationship and those two players start to link up a little bit, it's this could be a pretty special pairing up top.
Yeah, I can't. Which one's more weird? Us wearing a full kit on a preseason game, or Sporting Kansas City, an MLS professional team, wearing pennies in goal for a preseason game?
I think somehow we look weirder. It should be them, but I think it's they show. I'm trying to think of a comparison, but we're way overdressed for the party. So
I got the perfect comparison for you. It's we're Jim Carrey showing up in Dumb and Dumber to the mixer in the bright blue and orange tux, while everyone else is just kind of in nice dress attire. Yeah, and we show up in the orange tux, expecting to hang out. Yeah,
it's we try to be formal for it, and but we look like the idiots because we're the ones wearing full kit. Anyway, whatever it is.
Hey man, you look good, you play good, and you gotta make sure that you wear the same outfit and play the same way. So,
oh man, but no, again, the win is not necessarily what I care about in this kind of situation. It's more seeing how the players are starting to play together, seeing some of the lineups that we threw out there, and seeing kind of who's playing and what that might mean for the starting lineup is always interesting too. I believe BL's got a little knock right now, so he didn't play in this, or hasn't been playing in it. But you saw what could look pretty close to some starting lineup, especially in the attack and midfield.
Yeah, it seems like you're trying out a few different things, because it's not the same starting 11 as it was for Nashville. And George Marks played in goal for this game versus Kalina, and which is fine. This is time to experiment, try to get people minutes, play, and see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And we still got the Coachella tournament and invitational cup, whatever the hell they're calling it, here coming up soon here too. So
in North Carolina FC, we play in a little bit too, which I think is exciting. But yeah, so the second half starting 11, just to throw it out there. I mean, it was Agyemang, Zaha, Abada, Pekovic, Westwood, Williamson, and then the defense was Thomas, Tuiloma, Malanda, Scardinia, and Kalina. So the defense, you could see some Malanda being there obviously, but you could see some kind of like rotation to see what's going on. But you got Kalina in goal, and I think that midfield, with the exception of BL, probably taking the Pekovic spot. That midfield and attack feels a lot like what we're going to see in Seattle game 1. So kind of cool to see them playing together. With that in mind, we had a question from, where'd it go? Richard. So considering all the roster changes since the end of last season, and assuming we have no other signings, who would be your starting 11 in Seattle?
So I put a picture of this in our little group Discord, Corey, just to test some things out. But I did a little
spoiler alert. There's a Discord thing happening that will tell you what we're at some point. Maybe, I don't know.
That was a little nugget there. So
right now it's really like me, David, Matt, and like 2 people. So it's a real lively group.
It's basically a text message group, is what it is. So it's so I put my starting 11 on paper in there just to kind of say, okay, how close am I going to get? But I would say top 3. So Zaha, Pat, Abada. I think Pep is going to be, behind Pat. Then I think you either have Eric starting at the 8. I think on paper that's kind of the goal. And then you have Ashley, and then you have Reem, Privet, Malanda, Byrne, Kalina. Right, that's what I would say as a starting 11 to kind of start us off. And you could have some players rotate in, and depending on the lineup, you could have again Brandt come in, you could have Diani come in, you could have Petrovic come in. I mean, there's so much flexibility we have now for once, and see what happens there with the starting 11. What about you?
No, same. I'm gonna be boring and agree. Like that's what I see too. I don't see anything different, barring again, like the question asked, like additional players coming in or any other additional changes
or injuries or something.
Assuming everyone's healthy and match ready game 1. I think that's the obvious starting lineup, because again, like I would like to see some moves defensively, but playing that defensive back line that you mentioned is what worked at the end of last year. I don't see why it can't keep working. And ultimately we're gonna need another left back, another right back, but as a depth piece on the right back at least. But I think for right now we have a starting lineup that makes a lot of sense, and I like being able to come into the season feeling pretty confident where I think our starting lineup's going to be. That there's a clear 11 that seems to make sense for this team. So I'm just excited to see that. Let's move that out of the way. Just looking through our questions. Those all I can save till later. Actually, I'll jump to this one because it goes to our next bullet point, which is, this is from Cheeto. Of the 2 additional cups we're participating in this season, which piece of hardware should we go all in for? US Open Cup or Leagues Cup? So just to kind of talk about the news first, in all my tabs I have open. They announced who's playing in which North American competitions. Obviously, the Champions Cup, Leagues Cup, U.S. Open Cup, Canadian Championship, and so we are playing in both the Leagues Cup and U.S. Open Cup this year, because we're not eligible for the other ones, because we're not Canadian and we are not a champion yet. But yeah, I mean, so that's a lot of matches. I mean, Leagues Cup and Open Cup, depending on how far you go, like that can add a whole bunch of matches. especially in the summertime. So,
and they're not pausing this year either compared to years past. So Leagues Cup will be running and Open Cup will be running concurrent to the regular season. So
what could go wrong? It'll be fine. In our very active Discord, someone was like, "How are we going to have players for all those things?" And I was like, "Steroids."
Someone said cloning Brant Bronico.
Cloning Brant Bronico. But no. So what? So when you look at that, if you were Dean Smith or anybody in the front office, how would you approach those two cup competitions?
So I think you have to approach it early on as depth pieces. And if you start to make wins and into it, I think you start more players. Selfishly, I would prioritize the Open Cup over the Leagues Cup. Leagues Cup can go kick rocks, personally speaking, but whatever. But I understand it too from a player perspective. They win more if we win Leagues Cup. Yeah. So like the bonus and everything like that is more incentivized for players to go farther in Leagues Cup than it is for the U.S. Open Cup, because the U.S. Open Cup is poorly funded and managed by United States Soccer Federation and all this crazy stuff that we can go down a whole different episode about. But I don't know. Like I would, even Dean, I was listening to an early interview when I was on vacation a week or two, and I was driving like 14 hours back from Ohio, and I was listening to a bunch of Charlotte FC interviews, and even Dean was asked about Leagues Cup, and he's like, yeah, I'll be honest with you, like it wasn't something that I put a lot of effort into this past season. Right. And it kind of confused me why we stopped league play during the middle of the season for this. Because he's like, and everywhere I've coached before this, you just play it during the regular season. Like, and so he was kind of like, it last year kind of sucked. It bit us in the butt a little bit. And, this year will be a little bit different. So I think he will take it more serious this year. And I think it also helps that there's not, the league just stops play for 3 weeks because they're playing in a made up cup. But, I would prioritize Open Cup, personally speaking. But
yeah,
what about you,
agreed.
Corey?
I mean, you know my opinion on Leagues Cup, and it's not like I'm anti-Leagues Cup. It's just like I can't get excited for it. Like I just cannot. We talked about this last year. Like when we were playing the matches, like I cannot bring myself to care about whether we make the next round or not. I just can't. So there's that. I'm not one of those U.S. Open Cup, like till we die kind of people. But I do like the Open Cup a lot. I think it's a really fun competition, and just looking at the teams in it, I feel like that feels like the more winnable of the two.
Agreed.
So I'd kind of love to. I mean, because like looking at the teams, like there's no Atlanta, there's no Cincinnati, neither LA team, no Miami, no Columbus. Like it's.
It's really weird that Atlanta's not in it. By the way, like it just seems weird that they're not in the Open Cup.
Yeah, no, I don't know, but I don't know how these choices are made. But
MLS made it, so I can tell you right here. I've got the 4 bullet points from MLS of how they decided this. Like, of course, MLS has to MLS this thing to whatever. So it just says the number of MLS first teams participating in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup has increased from 8 to 16. In addition, 10 MLS Next Pro teams will compete in this tournament. The 16 participating will be as follows: only U.S.-based clubs. MLS teams not competing in the Leagues Cup or CONCACAF Champions Cup automatically qualify for the Open Cup. So that this accounts for 9 of the 16 teams. And the remaining teams are determined by Supporters Shield standings, excluding teams that are competing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. For the 2025, that accounts for 7 of the 16 teams. Like it
obviously just super clear.
Super clear, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So
I didn't read that part in the article. I was like, I'm over it. I mean,
because it's MLS, it's fine.
And Leagues Cup is the one that like is much more clear. It's like the top 9 from each conference make it. Like that's straightforward. Sure. I do like that we've expanded the number of teams we're putting in US Open Cup MLS. I mean, when I say we, I think that is good. I still think we should just let everybody play in it at this point, but that's I don't know if that's ever going to come back, but I like that there's 16 teams in it. And again, I think I agree with you that you don't start your starters in it. Like you start with some of the reserve guys and give some guys some minutes in those early rounds. But if we're a few rounds deep in that,
Oh, 100%.
I'd go for it. Like, let's win
Yeah.
a trophy. And I think that's the more winnable of the two. And honestly, the one, if I had to think about which one I would care about winning it, taking away any monetary incentives or anything like that, I think it'd be cool to win the Open Cup.
Agreed.
So that's what I would go for there.
Aligned 100%. Yep.
All right. Good to hear. Anything else? We have a handful more listening questions. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we dive into those?
Nothing. No, let's see what the questions are, and then we'll see where we go from there.
All right. So let's jump into it. From Phil Blair. First question, or I guess it's a statement. Thanks for posting on this platform. I assume this is Blue Sky?
Yeah, so
We're
quick plug.
on Blue Sky.
We're on Blue Sky. Blue Sky, Blue Sky, Blue Sky. We will be more active on Blue Sky this season. So just search Mint City Soccer Show, and we will pop up on Blue Sky 100%. So quick plug.
I'm glad y'all finally come around. I appreciate this.
I'm all in, buddy.
Because I do not look at the other site ever.
Yeah.
And I can't stop thinking about it as Blueski because of Vaughn. He just planted that in my brain, Blueski, and it never goes away now, and I blame him. His second question is, when does the new kit drop? I believe we got an email about this recently.
Yeah, I don't have that email pulled up.
I'm going to pull it up as I'm stalling, and I'm going to click through my email real quick. But the launch or the kit release party is February 12th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Bank of America Stadium. I think season ticket members can get a free ticket early on to get in there. So we'll definitely know for sure, 100% no rumors what it is on February 12th, which is only a couple weeks away now. But we'll jump ahead to a question from Max, because if you've been paying attention to the internet, there's been some leaks. Imagine that. Jersey leaks that just happen every year. They shouldn't be leaks at this point. They just put them out. But there's been a leaked kit for Charlotte FC that I'm going to try to pull up here on the YouTube and show people.
We can neither confirm nor deny.
And the podcast logo in the middle of the jersey is not actually part of the jersey, so don't be confused by that. But what do we think about these rumored jerseys? And I'll kind of try to describe them real quick for the audio listeners. It is a black kit with looks like silver-ish lettering and the Adidas symbol and all that. It's got like kind of a blue neck detail on the front. It's got obviously the three stripes on the shoulder, but the black base actually has what looks like kind of a little texture to it, a little bit of a that looks like the crown points. I'm not explaining this very well. I'm really like, this is really hard to explain, but it's got this little kind of like pattern under, like on top of the black, under the silver of the logo and things like that kind of look reminiscent of the crown that we wear. But here's my favorite part. I'll just go ahead and jump ahead to what I love about it. It's the secondary logo as the patch. From the moment they released the branding of the team and they showed that one, that has always been my favorite. I mean, the crest is great. It's fine. But like that CLTFC mark, I love, and I will always buy things with that on it. And so the fact that we're going to have a secondary kit with that on the chest
potentially
makes me potentially it's a leak.
I'm covering our legal bases here.
Nothing's confirmed. But if that comes true in 2 weeks, I will buy that thing so fast. I love that we're finally incorporating that into the front of the jersey. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this in this kit leak?
Well, as someone who has that tri-letter tattooed on his leg, I am a big fan of that as well. So I will gladly, if that is confirmed to be the kit eventually, I would love to have that kit. So I'm interested to see what it looks like. I will say leaks never do it full justice.
Yeah.
So like you can't tell all the minor details. There's always really cool stuff that's hidden and kind of done on these kits. So, take a look at it if you wish, if it's out there, but if not, save the surprise, wait for the official reveal, and let's have some fun with it. I'm just glad to have a new kit.
Yeah. No, I guess I'm the only one in the podcast host that doesn't have that logo tattooed on my body somewhere. Because doesn't Matt has it on
Does
like
Swit?
a forearm? Or am I
Does he
thinking
have that
something
one?
else? I thought I could be wrong on that.
Maybe he
I
does.
really
I
thought he
don't-
did.
He has a whole North Carolina theme, so like he probably does.
I thought
Actually,
he had the CLTFC.
I think
as well.
he does. Actually, I think it's blue. I think you're right.
I
Yeah.
thought he was the one that got it like within hours of the branding.
I think he
released.
did. Him and Chico was the first one to get it done, like on the internet. Like
This is
that
before I
day-
really knew Matt. Before Matt was hosting the podcast, I was like, "Who's this guy who's getting a tattoo like the day after the Rangers?" It's Matt. It was
Yeah.
Matt. No, I'm really excited about this. I mean, it's not, like from a distance, it'll look like, a black shirt. And so people might hate on that a little bit, but I love the details. If this is what it actually ends up looking like. And I would be interested in seeing it in person because like you said, some of that detail you can't really see in, grainy cell phone photos of leaked, whatever these came
with
from.
podcast logos
With
thrown on
podcast
top
logos.
of it.
Yeah, that's a choice. But I love it, and again, I'm excited to see that second logo getting thrown on there. So good stuff. But I'll go back to his question. So Max's question was, what would be your top 5 Charlotte FC kits or warm ups as we enter year 4?
So just off my gut, real quick, I'm gonna say Mint City 1. Second one is what was it called last year? The Carolina, not the Carolina
Explorer?
kit, but the Explorer kit. Yeah, thank you. Explorer kit, then the Carolina kit, then the Royal purple or whatever it is kit. Well, I guess it's only 4. Oh, I guess if you're gonna throw like training and warm up kits,
or the hypothetical leaked one, I think you can throw in the rankings. I think that was the idea of the question.
oh yeah,
Like if this is the one that we're gonna get, throw it in the rankings where you would put it.
If I'm just going off the leak and it's not, haven't seen it in person yet, I would say it's up there with 2. You can intertwine 2 and 3.
Okay.
Explorer kit's way up there. I mean, maybe I hate to say this as someone that loves Mint and the Mint. I almost would put the Explorer kit number 1 and then put Mint City and the Leak kit number 2. I'm talking myself out of this. I don't know. They're number 1, 2, and 3 are all interchangeable. I think those are all the same. I think those are really, really great.
I agree. I think there are some clear winners here. So I think if I had to rank them right now, and it's hard to know for sure based on the leaks, like exactly what this looks like. But I'm going to go ahead and say I think this new secondary kit would probably be number 1 for me. If it looks like the leak looks like, and if the details are there, that shoots to number 1. 2 would be the Explorer kit. Yeah, that's what it is. The Explorer kit. Mm-hmm. The mount. I love just the detail of the mountains and all that, and that's just a beautiful, beautiful shirt. 3 would be Mint. I like the Mint, but I'm like, it doesn't have like this matte. I thought it was cool.
Looking back, there's really not much to it if you think about it, right?
It was meaningful, yeah. Like it was a meaningful thing. It was like they're leaning into the Mint thing, which is Mint City Collective, our name of our show. Like the fact they leaned into that with the first secondary kit was cool. Like I loved that, but like it's a black shirt with a Mint logo. Like it's nice, but like it's nothing. And I hope they will, in future years, bring back the Mint in some really cool ways too.
Agreed.
So I still love it, but I think of those, I would rank it 3. Then our opening blue kit, and then the purple kit. Which I don't dislike the purple kit, but it just when you rank it against all the other ones, it's down there.
Yep.
And I don't the training warm up kit, like I have some I like, but I wouldn't
put them up.
The whole league does all the same ones. Like it doesn't get me that excited about any of them. So that's fine. And I realized that Max said since you're the most qualified man for these rankings, I'm assuming he was talking about Swift, who has every single jersey, and Swift isn't even here to answer the question. So maybe we'll have to remember next week. I'll remember next week to ask Swift what his rankings are. He might throw some training tops in there. All right. Let's go to our next couple of questions. I like this one from Scott. So pretty exciting off season. Do you think we generated enough chatter to have another huge crowd for the opener? 4th year, the new is starting to wear off, and I wonder if there will be a drop in interest. What do you think?
Well, so it depends on which David you're talking to. If you're talking to fan David, do I think we got enough buzz and chatter to have a big kickoff? Signing players like Zaha, new kit coming out that seems like potentially it looks awesome. You have a team that just came off the playoffs. The recipe's there. If they lean into it, yes. It's January. It's the end of January. We're recording this episode. It's 4 weeks away. And have you seen anything uptown or any hype building up towards it? No. Mm-hmm. So the pessimistic in me worries a little bit that it may not be feasible or doable at this point, because usually they'll be hyping it up and pushing it like crazy right now if they were. We also have an organization, again, not to be negative here, that doesn't have a chief business officer right now. The former president's no longer there. Who knows what the structure looks like? You have whatever going on. So I worry about that perspective, but who cares? Like I'm here to be a fan of the team, and I'm going to be here to support them. I will be there at that first game, even though I'm not a season ticket member anymore. I'll be there, and I'll be supporting the club and maybe rocking a new kit and supporting our new signings and supporting the boys out there. And hopefully we'll wear the new kit in the first night. It'd be really cool.
That would be really cool. I hope we do. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I mean, I also just think, like, I don't know if I ever really expect us to have, the 70,000 that we had initially, or even getting that 60,000. I mean, those were kind of special. Like, this is a new thing. It's an exciting thing. The ramp up to it was huge. I don't know if we're ever going to get there again, and maybe we could, but I don't know if we should expect that for opening matches in that way. I think it's going to be more like big playoff matches if we're having an amazing season. Like, I think you might see. I think we get there
if we have like a supporter shield type season, or like we go into it with like first or second seed playoff. Like, I think that's when we get there. I don't think you shouldn't, in my mind, as much as I selfishly would want to get it, I don't think you expect an opening season against the New England Revolution to be a 73,000 ticket game again. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that's feasible.
Yeah. No, I do say that. I think with the excitement around the way the season ended, with the excitement of Zaha, the caveat of if they do the right kind of marketing push in the next month and have really nice, affordable upper deck tickets, I think you could see a solid 50,000, 60,000.
Agreed.
Really good crowd, like a really fun crowd, which is, similar to what we had the season opener last year, which is a great, I mean, that's nothing to bat an eye at. Like, putting 50,000, 60,000 in the stands to see an MLS match is huge and has great energy to it. So that's not nothing. So I think it'd be exciting to have that, but no, I don't see, even with some of these moves, it being, back to season 1 or season 2. And I think that's okay. I think as long as over the season, that season average, hovers in a good spot, and we have those occasional games that have 40, 50 or more, I think that's okay. And then, hopefully when you have those supporter shield level, like we're fighting for the top of the league kind of seasons, then you get some of those big matches with 60, 70 in there. But no, I think we'll see a good crowd. I'm okay with that. All right. Last question we're going back to Matt Chantry. I had to pull up the list here. Which giveaway are you most excited for this year? So the team announced their promotional schedule. So I also have to qualify and say that, like, I never make it to the game in time to get the giveaways, and it makes me sad. But I'm
very. So the sad thing is, I'm in the supporter section. I mean, sometimes I get the giveaways, but it's never 100%, and I'm usually there pretty early.
No, I am. So, like, we have kids, so, like, it's all about childcare, and we have a very, like, well-oiled machine of a plan to get to the game right in time. Like, maximize the babysitting time so that we roll in and, like, we're in our seats and the game starts. Like, we have it to it done. But what that means is, like, there is no giveaway unless they're giving away to everybody. We aren't getting it. So that's okay. But is anything jumping out to you on this list of
Can you
giveaways?
read off a few of them on there? Because I don't think I've actually read the whole thing, but I know a few. But what's some of the things on there?
So the home opener is a hat, which actually looks pretty nice. It's a good old retro hat with, like, the rope kind of thing going across the
Oh,
the
yeah?
front. It's black with the blue CLTFC logo, which maybe
kind of
means
leans
what
into
the league jersey we might be wearing. There's a summer scarf in April. There's a foam goalie glove in April. The party shirt in May, which intrigues me. Straw hat in July, also intriguing. To be announced collectible, very specific. In July, an inflatable crown and a fan appreciation T-shirt in October.
I'm assuming the giveaway's another bobblehead.
Yeah, I assume it's just going to be
or like a figure like the Cermenti thing, or
player to be named bobblehead is what I assume the TBA collectible is.
Zaha. No, so, I would say, what I'm looking forward to most, if I can get my hands on them, if they do another bobblehead or kind of collectible figurine thing, that's what I would want to do. I've got the Skull Candy one. We've got the Brant Bronico one. I've got the Cermenti one last year as well. So, I'd love to kind of keep collecting those. The other ones, they're cool. The hat does look nice. I Googled it just now. The hat does look pretty nice. I think, I love a good hat. So
I hope they have enough of those that it's like almost everybody gets one.
If I get one, Corey, I will, and you don't, I will make sure I save it for you. I got you.
That would make me very happy, actually. What I'm most intrigued in, I teased it when I was reading them out, is the party shirt. Because if it's anything like the Cermenti shirt they did, was it last year?
Yeah.
That is the one that I have the most regret in not getting there in time to get, or just stealing one out of somebody's arms as I was walking through the concourse.
You don't have one?
I don't have one. I love that shirt.
I might have a spare somewhere for you. I'll see what I can find.
Okay, because I love that shirt. It's such a goofy shirt, but it's like I would absolutely. So like we're getting deep. I bowl in a bowling league, and there's a guy who wears that as his bowling shirt every week, and I'm like, that's a great idea. Like I should wear that shirt as my bowling shirt every week. So I would do it if I got a shirt. Just throwing it out there. But that's what I'm sad about. The straw hat, I don't think I'd ever wear it, but it's just a hilarious giveaway. So if they do it the right way, that could be a fun one to it's a cool probably one. Not wear, but like have like sitting in a room or an office somewhere. I'm
hoping the straw one's like midsummer, right?
It's July.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I think that could be a fun one.
They better make that branded with like Bojangles sweet tea and like Southern sweet tea and like like I do declare it's hot out here and then the straw. Sorry.
You have to talk like that when you wear it. Yeah. That's just the rule. Don't make the rules.
While wearing your Cermenti shirt. Yeah, that'd be great.
It is too bad. Bojangles is not sponsoring that one. That's a real missed opportunity. Now that you say that out loud. Like that needs to be like your straw hat and your sweet tea sitting on the porch.
Listen,
what's more Southern than that? It's too perfect.
Mr. New Chief Revenue Officer from the Panthers /TSC, you can pay me in straw hats for that idea. You're welcome.
Oh, man. I love it. All right, that's all of our questions. David, you got anything else before we head out?
No, I'm excited for the season. Expect to see us start pumping stuff out on a weekly basis here now that the season's starting to ramp back up. And I know we've got potentially some exciting things coming up this season. We're going to try some new things this year, I think, just to see. And some things may work. Some things may not work. So, if you don't like something that we try, just tell us. We have thick skin. You can share it with us and tell us. I'll just go cry in the corner if it was my idea, but it's okay. And we'll have a good season this year, I think. So,
yeah. If you don't like something we do, it's Matt's fault. You can just directly message him.
Actually, yes.
Preferably on Slack. Just do it on Slack and just message Matt on Slack. And I think that's the best way to air your grievances.
He's going to kill you when he listens to this.
I'm with you. I'm excited. All jokes aside, we had a planning call. I don't think we've had a planning call for the podcast
4 years.
So we'll see if anything actually comes out of it. We have some cool ideas that were teased out a little bit today. So stay tuned as the season gets ready to kick off. I have some fun things in mind. So excited for a new season. Excited to have this team and the players and soccer get ready to start back up. I'm pumped. So cannot wait until 4 weeks from now we have our first match.
It's exactly 4 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Oh man, let's do it. I'm excited. So we should be back next week to kind of lead more into the preseason as we get closer to kickoff. Have some more things to talk about. So we'll talk to you then and have a great rest of your week.